welcome to the Improv Summit. As always, I'm your host, Spencer. With me today, I have a very special guest. Now, I always say that, but this special guest today is an incredible basketball player. You may recognize him from the movie Space Jam, classic movie, Space Jam. Just kidding, but it's Michael Jordan! How's it going?
Hello! Yeah, man. The 90s were really good for me. I don't know if you watched, but they were great.
Yeah, I watched all your games, all the Chicago Bulls, all the Space Jam.
Yeah, I was
What a
busy,
time.
man. I was very
What a time.
busy. Yeah. So it's been nice to relax for the last like 20 years, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm sure I'm the first person that's ever made that reference ever.
You are, man.
to you.
That's what's crazy is I don't know, but I appreciate that you follow my career and my life. It's really great.
Yeah. Well, you're an up and comer. One day you'll get there. One day you'll be a pro.
One day I'll live up to my name. But
anyway, bit over. Just kidding. Or was it a bit? I don't know. It's the truth. Yeah. Anyway, how's it going, Michael? How are you?
good. I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
Good. All things considered, there's a lot going on in the world, but one day at a time.
Yeah.
That's just like that old or the remake of the soap opera, One Day at a Time. That's how I take it, one day at a time. Even though I'm a Capricorn and I plan weeks in advance, I've learned I have to one day at a time it now because things happen the day of that I can't control, and so I have to just kind of Capricorn my way through one day at a time.
I feel you.
Yeah. Anyway, this episode's not about me. Let's dive in and talk about you and improv. What is your improv background or your experience with improv?
Yeah. So my improv journey started in Chicago. I moved there after college. I went to the University of Tennessee, moved there right after that, did plays and stuff. And I was in plays with a guy. And he was like, "You'd be really good for Second City." And I looked at him and I go, "What's Second City?" And he goes, "Wow, just go see a show." And so I went and saw an ETC show at Second City. And I wish I could remember which one it was, but I can't. And I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. And so I started taking classes at Second City. I went through all the programs in Chicago, IO, Annoyance. And then I ended up opening and running a music improv comedy theater for like 4 years with a couple partners. So yeah, that's kind of like the Reader's Digest version of or Cliff Notes version of my improv journey. But yeah, a lot of Chicago-based stuff and done sketch, I've done comedy sports, I've done almost all of it, I feel like. But it's been really good, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. You did a Die Hard musical, right? Musical parody. Did that run in Chicago?
It does, yeah.
It still does. Oh, okay,
it
great.
Still does. Yeah, we wrote when we were doing the comedy theater. We we opened in like June or July, and by like late September, October, we were like, "Oh, we should do like a holiday show." And so we were sitting around talking about like, well, what should we do? Should we do like our version of A Christmas Carol or like something stupid like that? And then somebody that I was working with, her name was Alex Richmond. She goes, my family watches Die Hard every year. And like a light bulb went off and we were like, done. We're going to do a musical parody of Die Hard. And so we wrote it in days. And it was only an hour for that first year. But it is entering its 8th season in Chicago, which is pretty awesome. We're hoping it'll get produced at Annoyance, fingers crossed. But it also gets licensed around the country. It might be coming to LA. I'm in talks with a theater out in LA to produce it this year, which would be super cool. But yeah, so yeah, it's called Yippee Merry Christmas, a Die Hard musical parody.
Nice. Short, sweet name. Very short.
Yeah.
I was going to say the whole like writing a musical in days. I have a track record of writing musicals in days. In fact, all of my Fringe musicals have generally been written in days because I run out of time. So I'm like, oh, I got to like write this because we're in the middle of rehearsals and I haven't finished the show yet. Cool. Awesome. And then I stress out and panic, and that just becomes like a whole, what's that called? Like not a tumbleweed. Like a domino effect of like,
Yeah.
stress.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a thing. Anyway, back to you. I think that was a TV show at one point for like a season or two.
Back to you.
Back to you.
Sounds familiar.
I think Megan Mullally was in it. Am I making this up? Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway,
I
I'm gonna
got
look
it.
it up while you answer this question. What do you love about improv?
I think what I love about improv is when you're in it, and really just not thinking about everything. I feel like you get the same feeling that like musicians get when they're just like in the groove. You know what I mean? Where when you do a really great show, it feels like it goes by in a second, and then when it's over, you have no clue what happened. And just that like being in the flow of all of that stuff, I think that's what I'm very drawn to. Yeah, I think it's not being like an insanely talented musician myself. I think it's the closest feeling that I can get to like being a rock star in the comedy world, which is super fun. That's kind of my favorite thing about it.
That's great. I love that. I love the idea of being a rock star in the improv world. It's like in the music. It's so interesting. I've never thought about like improv as like rock, but it is true in its own way.
Yeah.
Also, Back to You is a TV show that stars the following people: Patricia Heaton, Kelsey Grammer, Josh Gad, Ty Burrell, Fred Willard. Like a lot of people in this show.
That's a lot of big names.
Yeah, it was only on for like a season or two. It didn't last very long, but that's what happens with shows. And when you have a lot of people that you have to pay that are very expensive names, then I mean, I'm just saying I'm here and I'm a lot cheaper. So just throwing it out there.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, that being said, one of the big things I love about improv is that improv can be used kind of pretty much wherever, whenever, however, you use improv in everyday life. And so for me, one of the questions I want to know is, how do you incorporate elements of improv in your everyday life?
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever taken an improv class before, the first thing they teach you is just like yes and, right? So that's the core value of improv. That's the fundamental belief. And I think just using that concept in everyday life, whether it be like with your friends, with any sort of work colleagues or anything like that, just that openness, the openness to at least like acknowledge what the other person is saying and then try and contribute your piece to it, is always beneficial. Because as soon as you say the word no on anything, it just creates a hard stop and a division between the two of you. So like, I'm trying to think if there's like a specific example that I can come up with right now. I can't, but I can do this. I also tell people all the time when I used to work at the training center at Second City in Chicago, and students would come or people would come to us after shows or something like that and be like, I have no idea how you guys do that. I could never be able to improvise. And I'm like, yeah, you can. We're improvising right now. The conversation that you and I are having right now is not pre-planned. It's not written. You have no idea what you're going to say next. You have no idea what I'm going to say next. But you do the fundamentals. You listen to the other person, you take that in, and then you respond. And that, at the core and most simple version of it, is improvising. So you improvise all day long, every day, with new people. And so you can do it. And that's what I used to tell people all the time. Don't worry about being funny. Funny will come. Just worry about taking that first step on the stage, because that is the hardest part and the most terrifying part, because it is terrifying, but you'll get over it.
Yeah, that's great. Two things that really struck out to me in that is the whole idea of like we're improvising as we're talking right now because you don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what you're like. If you literally said to me, like, okay, so Michael, ask me, say hello, how are you to me.
Hi, Spencer. How are you, man?
Monkeys are in the cage, right? Like you're not
Holy
expecting
shit.
that. Right, exactly. So like, but like, if this was like our real life was pre-planned, right? If you said, "Hello, how are you?" You'd expect me to go, "I'm good," or "I'm fine," or whatever, some like casual small talk. And so if I went, if you said, "Hello, how are you?" and I said, "Monkeys are in the cage," you went, "Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I'm doing well too. Thanks for asking." It's like what? That has nothing. So it is this idea of like just knowing from the start that every day when you have a conversation, you're improvising. Every day when you wake up out of bed, you don't. I mean, I'm a Capricorn, so I kind of know what I'm doing every day, but a lot of people don't necessarily know what they're doing if they don't have a schedule plan. They just kind of go with the flow. They're improvising. Now I'm gonna go get lunch now. Oh, maybe I'll read a book. Maybe I'll watch a movie. And all of that is improvising in its own way. And the other thing you mentioned about the not being like, don't worry about being funny right away. It is always the case that when you try to be funny, you never get there. And I've learned that, well, IO taught about like truth and comedy, and that's like literally the IO book, Truth and Comedy. What I really loved about that philosophy is that there are things that I inherently do that are just funny, but it's just because it's part of my personality. I remember one time I was at Zaxby's and it was a couple friends and I thought my friend was outside. I thought he was opening the door for me. So I walked to him and I walked right into a window. And I caused the wet floor sign to fall. The group of employees came running out. Are you okay? And I was like, I just thought my friend was holding the door open for me. And like this is just a very like, see, it's funny. I'm not like trying to be funny. It wasn't like a moment where I was like, I'm gonna make this like a viral video because this was before viral videos were a thing. But it was like this idea of like me just being an inept oaf is what is inherently funny in general. And so taking that of like me just doing that where I walk into a window, oops, it's funny, but it's from truth. And I think that the idea of not trying to be funny is so great because I have found that the funniest things in scenes, like when I'm at my funniest, is one when I'm not thinking about being funny, but two, someone says something and either I mishear what they're saying or I don't actually know what they're saying and I just try to assume that I do. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just responding in a way that I naturally would, and that's what makes it funny is like that misunderstanding. And so I think that's a great point about not trying to be funny. Uh,
Yeah.
that being said, we all have scenes that we've seen or that we've been in that are just so funny. Oh my gosh, it's a gut buster. I can't stop laughing. It's a knee slapper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know that as someone who improvises, I have a hard time remembering anything that I watch or improvise like as a performer. I can't remember anything I improvise. For the most part, there are things where I have aha moments where I'm like, oh, this is how this like moment of improv works, and those are like the scenes that I take with me, whether as an audience member or as an improviser. For you, do you have any of those like improv like aha moments of scenes, whether you were in it or watching, that you're like, I will never forget this because it was X, Y, and Z. It was an aha moment for me.
Like an aha moment of figuring out
Like
like improv in general, or just like, oh my God, that moment will stand out for me forever in time because it was just so perfect.
either or.
Okay. I think so. I used to do a lot of music improv, and we ran a show on Fridays and Saturdays for 4 years. We built it as it was short form music improv. We had like a full band, and we built it as like, it's whose line is it anyway? But everybody's Wayne Brady, and it was very, very fun. And I can think of moments from that. And there is a moment that I'll never forget. It was actually my castmate Lou Leonardo, and then actually my fiance Abby Vatterat. They were in a scene, and it was kind of like a dinner date thing that they were doing, and Lou started. He just kind of pulled out, like the music started playing, and Lou just kind of started going. He goes, "A bottle of red," and then Abby goes, "A bottle of blue." And it was the funniest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I don't think I'll ever forget it. for two reasons. Because it was just so honest of just like, I mean, we all lost our shit and just laughed for like 5 minutes because it was so earnest and Abby was so in the moment, and it was just such a small switch on something that we all know deep down inside. And it was so perfect that even me as an improviser after the show went up to Abby and I was like, did you know what you did? Like, did you do that on purpose? Do you know the lyrics to that Billy Joel song that you were doing? And she's like, yeah, of course. And I was like, blew me away. So I think that one moment, a bottle of red, a bottle of blue, is the funniest thing that I remember. And then other than that, like, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I feel like I remember the feelings of shows. You know what I mean? Like I remember that was a great feeling. Like I just remember how good that feeling was. But if you told me specifics or anything that I said, I don't think I could tell you anything that I said, because when you're really in it, like I was talking about before, you just don't remember it. It just doesn't. You're just flowing with it. So yeah, I don't know. Does that make sense? Did it answer any questions?
100%. 100%. I was gonna say truer words have never been spoken. They're just, when you're so in it, it's like I even do that with heralds when we're like, when someone brings me in a character and I have like this thing where, you know, they bring me back for like a callback and, you know, maybe the second or third beat and they say something and I'm like, what did I do? What was my, like, I don't even remember what, like, and they're like, remember when you didn't like macaroni? And then I was like, oh, like they have to like clue me in on like the thing for me to get that response. Because they're just waiting for me to go, yes, or and I literally can't remember. And I'm like, you gotta just prompt me. Like if you, I'm very good with bringing people back in callbacks when I'm not in the scene originally.
Well, yeah, because you're able to look at it from the outside, right? You look at it like a director looks at it, and you're able to put the connections together that you can't. That's not your job to do that in the scene, right? Your job is, as an improviser, is to respond to the person in front of you. You're not, because as soon as you start thinking, that was my biggest problem going through class. And I remember Mick Napier telling me this. He was like, he goes, you're a really good director. Like you can direct, you know what's going on, everything. But I need you to not direct while you're improvising in a scene. Because as soon as you pull yourself out of what you're doing in that scene and start looking at it from like a bird's eye view, then you're not in the scene anymore and you're not helping your scene partner. So like you kind of got to just let that go. And the more I worked on that and tried to do that, the more I realized that I didn't need to think about it, because those things that we had established before for callbacks would just naturally come back themselves. So they were already going to come through me. And if I spent the whole time trying to think about how to bring it back, then it just messed the scene up and it made the scene that I was in not good. But if you just kind of went with whatever you're doing, those connections are going to come back together. And that's why a herald is so magical, because yes, you've got people on the sidelines that can help with that. But if you just do it for an hour, it's going to happen anyways. And so, and when it happens magically without people realizing that it's happening, that's what not only we as the performers on stage love to see, but the audiences go nuts. And that's the magic that they all talk about afterwards. That's when they're like, I don't know how you guys did that. I barely even remember it. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know either. But you don't say that to them. You're just like, oh yeah, I'm a great improviser. I just, came back. But you just don't know. You just let it happen. And the more you let it happen, the better it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's great. We'll take a quick shift in conversation, give your brain a little bit of a break. Just ask if you have any plugs or pitches, anything you want to share or promote. Now is that time.
Ooh, now is this time. Well, hopefully you can watch. So I'll plug this. You can watch the Die Hard musical if you want to. It is on YouTube. The full musical is on YouTube. It's YIPPIE The Musical. That recording, it was professionally recorded. It's from our 2018 production at the Den Theater, which is kind of the biggest production we've ever done. But you can watch the whole thing if you want. We just put it up there. And then, yeah, hopefully it'll be coming. If you live in LA, it'll be coming this year. If you live in Chicago, it'll be in the Annoyance, hopefully. And then I think it might be going to North Texas next summer, which is odd. But hey, Christmas in July is, I think, what they're going for.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Great. We'll also link that. We'll link that down in the comment, the description, whatever this thing is down here. We'll link it there. Also, if you need to buy a house and you're in
St. Louis, hit me up.
Yeah.
Hit me up if you're in St. Louis and you're looking for properties. If you're an investor, if you're looking for a single family home, whatever, I'll help you out. So yeah.
Great. I love it. I have one final question for you, Michael, here on this Improv Summit. And it's one of the reasons why the Improv Summit exists. A lot of times people would come up to me and say, oh, you do a lot of improv. Where should I take improv? And they say it in that voice, obviously. And it's always a hard question for me to answer because I feel like there's a lot of facets to giving a solid answer to that question. But if someone came up to you and asked you that question, what would be like one piece of advice or one tip you'd give to help guide them on their improv journey?
I mean, I think the first question I would ask them is like, where are they? Like, where are you and where do you want to go? Like, if you want to dive into it hardcore, I would say move to like Chicago or LA and like get in Second City or the Groundlings or, I mean, RIP IO. Maybe it's coming back. Who knows?
Yeah, there's talks. It's interesting. Yeah,
maybe.
We'll see.
And like really go into that and and really get in that. But if you don't want to, if you're looking to just kind of do some improv classes just for yourself, then I would just Google like improv in your city. And I guarantee you there's at least a meetup of people doing improv. And just go once, take a friend if you want to take a friend, and have an open mind about it and really kind of approach it like, I'm going to go play games. And it's going to feel weird at first. And you're going to feel like an adult because you are an adult playing pretend. That's what you're doing. But it's okay. And once you get over that, you'll start to feel that magic and you'll start to feel that fun. And then as you go through it, just kind of be open to those opportunities and they'll lead you down your own little improv journey and your little improv path. So I would not even worry about like, ooh, I'm going to do long form or I'm going to do short form or don't worry about it. Go to a jam, go to a meetup, go to whatever your city has to offer in terms of improv, or just go watch a show, talk to somebody, hang out. Because that's kind of the first step of getting in. If you want to take a class, just go and do it. And it's going to be weird. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's great. I think a really important thing is do you want to go somewhere else to do improv or do you want to just do it right where you are, which is a big factor in everything. So I think that's a great point you brought up. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Also, Michael, thank you so much for being here on the Improv Summit. I did say that was the last question I had for you, but as always on this show, I am a giant liar, and I actually have another question for you. And that question is, we've been talking a lot about improv. You want to do some improv?
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's do it.
Of.
OF. That is a suggestion. Who would you like to initiate this scene?
You. I want you to do it.
Great. All right. I will initiate with the suggestion of. Thank you. It's a huge library. Yeah. The Moon is Down, of Mice and Men, not of Mice is Men, but of Mice is Men is also there too. It's like the sequel. It's a huge library. You got a lot of books.
Yeah, thank you. I really have prided my collection on all of the rejects of all the famous authors. There's War in the Worlds There's War of Peace, which is a very interesting, it was a first edition before we got to War in Peace or and Peace. I also have War in Peace. So yeah, it's just a library of famous authors and their initial works and the bad titles that they used. So it's really a pride that I have.
Would you say it's a Pride and Prejudice or a Pride in Prejudice?
I think it's the pride of my prejudice that I am prejudiced towards, knockoff novels, and this is my pride. But yeah, it's something.
It's like the B movies of books.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Because it's really my life's work that I'm showing you right now, and I'll be honest, I have not let anybody else in this room ever.
I mean, I dig it. I feel like, who's your favorite author?
Oh, it's gotta be John Steinbeck. I really like The Grapes.
I said The Moon is Down. I said The Moon is Down. That's a John Steinbeck novel.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the first one I mentioned. How is it that you just had like your favorite novel just right there, the first one I noticed?
I maybe rearranged the whole thing last night from midnight to 5 a.m. knowing that you were going to be coming in here, and maybe stalked you a little bit and realized that you did a 5th grade book report on Of Mice and Men. And therefore I just positioned the John Steinbecks right here so that you would see them first when you walked into the room, because I wanted to impress you.
I did a project on the Moon is Down in 11th grade. In high school, I did a project on The Moon is Down. That's like wild. Like the two projects
maybe
that
I called your mom and found it, and maybe it's over here in my Bradley section of all of your book reports of your entire life.
I haven't seen that book report in so long. Can you read the first page for me? Because I don't remember what it says.
These words, I just want you to know, when I first read them, I wept.
Oh, thank you. I got a B+ on this assignment.
Tragic. I don't know what your teacher was talking about. It's whatever.
A+ material? Can you tell her that? I would love for you to tell her that. I mean, it doesn't matter now. I'm not in high school anymore, but.
Oh, believe me, I told her when I got this. I called her eventually. Well, I didn't call her because she's passed away, but I called her daughter and told her that her mom, your teacher, was very wrong with this specific grade. It was not the best conversation ever, but I felt good about it on your behalf.
Well, I appreciate you going out of your way.
Yeah. So, first paragraph, book report from Bradley Jenkins. 2004. Of all the John Steinbeck books that I have read in my life, which there are only 2, I consider this to be the premiere of both. I mean, come on. Are you not a genius or what?
Considering the fact that I've never read The Grapes of Wrath, I guess it says a lot.
It does. I would be very intrigued to read a book report on The Grapes of Wrath from you with your knowledge and life experience of today. Can I loan you a copy of it?
Sure.
You know what, Bradley? I'm going to give you this copy of The Grapes of Wrath. And what I would really love to see from you is that in the next 2 weeks, I would love a character breakdown of Lenny and I'm blanking on his name. The Gary Sinise character from the movie. Anyways,
is it The Grapes of Wrath? Is that who he plays?
No, The Grapes of Wrath, excuse me, I'm all flustered because I'm talking to you. The Grapes of Wrath is the Jodes. So you've got Al Jode, and they're going from Oklahoma, they're Okies, and they're trying to make it all the way out to California during the Dust Bowl in the 30s. So I just want you to do a character breakdown of the whole family, and I would really like for you to read chapters 1 and 2. And I'd like a 5-paragraph essay, if you want to push it to 7, that'd be great, on just recapping the first and second chapters of the book, and then provide it to me, and I'll add it right here into my collection. And then over the course of the next 6 weeks, we'll just go through and we'll just break down this whole book together, and I'll have it.
Just one question. Would you be able to write that B+ from The Moon Is Down? I mean, can I get an A+ on this assignment? Can you let my English teacher's daughter know that I should get an A+?
Well, Bradley, I fully believe that you are capable to get that A+. I believe in you, but I'm gonna need to see the work first. So let's just start here, and then we'll go forward. So yeah,
okay.
All right, you're dismissed for today, but I'll see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Come in here, bring a spiral-bound notebook to take notes, and we'll start breaking down the Jodes.
This is the most interesting tutoring session I think I've ever had.
Yeah, I'm very unconventional in that way.
Thanks ever so much for coming to the Improv Summit. As always, I'm your host, Spencer. That's Michael. See you next time. Bye.
See ya.